Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the chapter with regards to the description of the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, there is a narration which has been compiled by Abu Nu'aym, and he narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. In fact, the narration is from Zirar ibn Dhamra radiyallahu anhu al-Kinani, and the narration states, دخل ذرار بن ضمرة الكناني على معاوية رضي الله تعالى عنه. ذرار ibn ضمرة رضي الله عنه visited Sayyidina Muawiyah رضي الله عنه. فقال له, so Sayyidina Muawiyah said to Sayyidina Dhirar, صف لي عليا, describe to me Sayyidina Ali رضي الله عنهم, who was the fourth Khalif of the Deen of Islam. And there was such love and such mutual relationships of compassion that they liked to hear about one another. And this was obviously after the demise of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. So Sayyidina Muawiyah asked for the description of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. Sayyidina Dhirar said, "Awa tu'fini," that recuse me from this task. I don't think I'll be able to do justice to it, O Amirul Mu'mineen. And Sayyidina Muawiyah then said to him, "La u'fika." No, I'm not recusing you from it. I really want to hear the description of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. So he then went on to describe Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, and he described one part of his ibadah, how he would pass his night. And he then says, فَأَشْهَدُ بِاللَّهِ, I take an oath on the name of Allah. لَقَدْ رَأَيْتُ فِي بَعْضِ مَوَاقِفِهِ, I seen him at some instance, at some nights, when I would see him. وَقَدْ أَرْخَى اللَّيْلُ سُدُولَهُ, the curtain of darkness had enveloped the world, meaning it was late at night, in the darkness of the night. There was no one to see at that time. وَغَارَتْ نُجُومُهُ, it was so late that even the stars had disappeared. يَمِيلُ فِي مِحْرَابِهِ قَابِضًا عَلَى لِحْيَتِهِ يَتَمَلْمَلُ تَمَلْمُلَ السَّمِيلِ, he would sit in his mihrab and he would hold on to his beard, and in his state of worship, in his dua, in his dhikr, in his crying before Allah, such a sound would come from his chest, يَتَمَلْمَلُ تَمَلْمُلَ السَّلِيمِ, the noise that usually emanates from a person who is bitten by a snake. It's a very painful experience to be bitten by a snake, and the person, emits a certain noise as a result of that. That is the noise that Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu would make while rendering his early morning worship. وَيَبْكِي بُكَاءَ الْحَزِينِ, and he would weep profusely, like someone who's grieving very deeply. And then Sayyidina Dhirar says, فَكَأَنِّي أَسْمَعُهُ الْآنِ, and then he has a recollection and he says, it is as though I can even hear him now. As I'm sitting here, I can hear his voice at the back of my mind, وَهُوَ يَقُول, and he's saying, يَا رَبَّنَا يَا رَبَّنَا, oh my Rabb, oh my Rabb, يَتَضَرَّأُ إِلَيْهِ, really beseeching Allah. ثُمَّ يَقُولُ لِلدُّنْيَا, and then he would address the dunya. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu in his munajat, in his address with Allah, and also speaking to the dunya and addressing it, and he would say, إِلَيَّ تَغَرَّرْتِ, are you trying to deceive me? إِلَيَّ تَشَوَّفْتِ, are you trying to entice me? هَيْهَاتَ هَيْهَاتِ, go far away. غُرِّ غَيْرِ, go try and deceive someone else. Go try and entrap someone else. قَدْ بَتَّتُكَ ثَلَاث, I have divorced you 3 times. I have severed all relations with you. And then he would say, فَأُمْرُكِ قَصِيرٌ, that the life of this world is but short. وَمَجْلِسُكِ حَكِيرٌ, and your companionship is but debased and lowly. وَخَطَرُكِ يَسِيرٌ, and your value is very low. And then he would say, oh, مِنْ قِلَّةِ الزَّادِ, what little provision I have prepared. وَبُعْدِ السَّفَرِ, what a long journey ahead. وَوَحْشَةِ الطَّرِيقِ, and what a treacherous, lonely journey there is ahead. And this is how he would describe Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. And with this description, فَوَكَفَتْ دُمُوعُ مُعَاوِيَةَ عَلَى لِحْيَتِهِ مَا يَمْلِكُهَا وَجَعَلَ يَنْشِفُهَا بِكُمِّهِ وَقَدْ اِحْتَنَقَ الْقَوْمُ بِالْبُكَى. listening to the description, Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu anhu started to weep. And he shed so many tears that it wet his beard. And he took his sleeve to wipe his tears. And all those present also started to weep, listening to the description of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. And then Sayyidina Muawiyah said, كَذَا كَانَ أَبُو الْحَسَنِ رَحِمَهُمُ اللَّهِ. This was really who Sayyidina Ali was. And then Sayyidina Muawiyah asked Sayyidina Dirar, and he says that, كَيْفَ وَجْدُكَ عَلَيْهِ يَا Dirar? How is your feelings about him having passed on and that he's no longer with you, that you were close to him, you spend a lot of time with him, now that he's passed on, how do you feel about that? So Sayyidina Dirar said, وَجْدُ مَنْ ذُبِحَ وَاحِدُهَا فَهِيَ فِي حِجْرِهَا لَا تَرْقَعُ دَمْعُهَا وَلَا يَسْكُنُ حُزْنُهَا. My condition is such like a lady who has only one child, and the one child has been slaughtered on her lap, and she still grieves over this child. Her grief has not come to an end. Her tears continue to flow, and she can still feel the heat of her tears. So this was the description of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhum. And the aspect with regards to the description is obviously how he passed his night. He passed his night in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in Tahajjud Salaah. Now the word Tahajjud means to remain awake at night. And that is why we refer to it as Tahajjud Salaah, the Salah that keeps you awake at night. It can be performed from any time after Isha till the crack of dawn. And before the 5 daily Salah were prescribed, Tahajjud Salah was actually compulsory. Sayyidina Abdullah bin Salam radiallahu anhu says that when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Madinatul Munawwara, there was a lot of talk that the messenger had come. And he says that I went to go see what is this all about. And when I came to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I looked at him, and the first thing that came to my mind is that laysa bi wajhin kadhab, that this cannot be the face of a liar. And among the first words that I heard from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, Ya ayyuhan nas afshu salam wa atimu ta'am وَصَلُّوا بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ بِالسَّلَامِ. Rawahu Abdullah bin Salam. That, O people, spread the greeting of salam and feed the poor and perform salah in the dead of the night when others are sleeping, and you will enter Jannah in a comfortable manner. So there are 3 phases to the Tahajjud Salah. The first is to read the Tahajjud immediately after the Isha. And there is a narration that states that if a person reads 4 rakats after Isha Salah, that person will get the reward of having performed Salah on Laylatul Qadr. So that is the lowest level, but it also falls within the bracket or under the ambit of Tahajjud Salah. The next level is to perform it before one goes to sleep. And this was the advice that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had given to Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, was a student of Deen. He would remain awake till the late hours of the night. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam advised him that he should perform his witr before he goes to sleep, meaning that he should perform his tahajjud also before he goes to sleep. So this is the second level of the Tahajjud Salah. And the third level with regards to the Tahajjud Salah is to wake up at night and then perform the Tahajjud Salah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ, that a closest a servant is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fi jawfil laylil akhir, in the last portion of the night. 2 hours, 1.5 hours before the time of Fajr begins. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَإِنِ اسْتَطَعْتَ أَن تَكُونُ مَن يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ فِي تِلْكَ السَّاعَةِ فَكُنْ. If you are able to be from those who remember Allah at that time, then be from those. It's a challenge to us. That do we want to be from those who are remembering Allah at that time, in the early hours of the morning, when we are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the true essence of the Tahajjud Salah. And that is why it's called Tahajjud Salah, because it is about abandoning your sleep for the sake of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if one does this, what is the benefit? There's a narration which states that alaykum bi qiyamil layl. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I advise you with regards to qiyamul layl. فَإِنَّهُ دَأْبُ الصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. It was the way of the pious before you. So the pious always perform tahajjud salah. There is no person in the annals of history who attained any position of wilayat and closeness to Allah who was not punctual on his tahajjud salah. So this was the way. And if we perform the tahajjud salah, then we then fall into the category of the pious. So that is one benefit. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam goes on to say that فَإِنَّهُ قُرْبَةٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ. By performing tahajjud salah, it is a means of you gaining closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having a maqam qurb, closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the second benefit. The third benefit, وَمُكَفِّرَاتٌ لِسَيِّئَاتِكُمْ. It's a means of expiating your sins. And then a fourth benefit mentioned in the hadith, and it is a means of elevation of your rank. In Surah Muzammil, Allah Rabbul Izzah says, Inna nashiyata layli hiya ashaddu wat'a. The waking up in the dead of the night, it tramples the nafs. Nafs is always inciting us and prompting us towards evil. Look at this, check that out, go to that website. When you wake up for the tahajjud salah, it gives you that strength to trample upon your nafs and not to give in to the prompting of the nafs. وَأَقْوَى مُقِيلًا. And it gives greater strength to your speech. When you're giving da'wah, when you're calling people towards Allah, when you've performed the tahajjud salah, then that words that you share is like an arrow that hits its target. It has a different power to it. And that is why Allah Rabbul Izzah had advised the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. That when you've completed your activities of the day, swimming in the ocean of people, calling them to Allah, then it is time for the direct worship of Allah, which is to tire yourself on the musalla. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would spend lengthy hours on the musalla, to such an extent that in the narration it comes, حَتَّى تَوَارَتْ قَدَمَاهُ. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would stand for such long periods that his feet would swell up. And Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha, seeing this condition and how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was pushing himself, she asked, O Nabi of Allah, وَقَدْ غُفِرَ لَكَ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَتْ. Why? What is the need for this, O Nabi of Allah? When all your past sins, and even if there was a possibility of a future sin, it's already forgiven. So why are you pushing yourself like this? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Why should I not be a grateful servant to Allah? Why should I not be a grateful servant to Allah? By pushing himself in this way, it was his way of showing gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the benefits are numerous of the tahajjud salah. And one would attain an elevated position. The question is, how do we make a habit of performing the tahajjud salah? So first and foremost, to be able to wake up for tahajjud, one has to sleep early. If you don't sleep early, even if you wake up, you'll be so drowsy, so groggy, you won't know what you're doing. So you need to sleep early. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make dua, that Allah gives you the ability. Asking Allah for assistance, that nothing can be achieved without the help of Allah. The third point is to make the intention that I would like to wake up for the tahajjud salah. And then after that, set your alarms. Set multiple alarms, and they say that you shouldn't put the alarm next to your bed. Put it a distance away so that you're forced to get out of your bed to put the alarm off. And then, once the alarm rings, don't hit the snooze, because if you snooze, then you lose. Don't hit the snooze button. When the alarm rings, then you've got to get up immediately. Because once you snooze, you go back and you wake up. So you've got to program yourself that once that alarm rings, I will get up immediately. And when you get up, then the first thing you should do is, as in the hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would rub his hands on his face, and that would be the effect to wipe away the effect of sleep. So by doing this, the tiredness that you tend to feel when you wake up, by rubbing your hands on your face, it removes that effect and it then gives you the strength to wake up. In a hadith it is stated that when a person goes to sleep, Shaitan positions himself at the nape of the person, and he then almost casts a spell on the person by saying, he ties 3 knots and he says, Alayka bilaylin tawil, that there's a long night ahead. And he says this 3 times, and he ties the 3 knots. And in the hadith it comes that when a person wakes up, فَإِذَا ذَكَرَ اللَّهِ, and he remembers Allah, 1 knot is untied. فَإِذَا تَوَضَّأَ, and if he performs wudu, the 2nd knot is untied. And then if he performs salah, the 3rd knot is untied. And then if he starts his day in this way, أَصْبَحَ نَشِيطًا طَيِّبَ النَّفْسِ, he wakes up in a good mood. Not like he had lemons for breakfast. He wakes up in a good mood and he is energetic, he's vibrant, he's dynamic, he has the energy to call people to Allah. And if he doesn't, if he sleeps through the Tahajjud Salah, or even through the Fajr Salah, then he wakes up khabithun nafs kaslan. He wakes up tired. He woke up after sleeping for so many hours, but he's still tired. And he wakes up lazy, tardy, sluggish, dragging himself along. So may Allah Rabbul Izzah make us from this elite group who are punctual with the Tahajjud Salah. And if we are punctual with the Tahajjud Salah, it will be a means of strengthening our da'wah. When we call people, it will have a greater and a profound effect. When we make dua, there's the greatest chance of our du'as being accepted. May Allah give us the ability. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.